I hated my dad. What do you do like after your dad punches you? Don't you know your dad's gonna hit you? People do stuff that I don't understand. And then I took a psychology class and I was like, oh, this is talking about all the things I've been asking my whole life. If something else comes in and I can't hold on to it, what am I gonna do? And then the helicopter left and then the people drowned. It's unsustainable.
I'm Travis Purdy, an alcoholic in recovery dedicated to giving back to the community that saved me. Join me and my incredible guests on our mission to break the stigma around mental health. One conversation at a time. This is Listen to Your Heart. Today, our guest is Kekupu Nourrie Jr., licensed mental health counselor. And Kupu, thanks for being here on the show.
Mahalo.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Tell us a little bit about, we're going to ask about origin story because I'm a big fan of that, and comics and comic book heroes and all that stuff, like we've talked about on many offline occasions.
Yeah.
But yeah, tell us a little bit about your current work. What are you up to?
Currently I'm licensed mental health counselor working for IMUA Health Group. I used to work also for Waianae Coast Comprehensive Health Center in the past, doing the same work, but also some cultural stuff, some plant medicine stuff, things like that. And then I guess origin story. When I was a lad, like when I was a kid, I never understood people.
Okay.
I always was very confused by how people acted, why people say the things they say, why people are mean, things like that. I was bullied, obviously. So I was always very interested in, I guess at the time I didn't know it was psychology, but in psychology, and didn't really do anything with it. Read a lot of books because I was interested in stories and stuff like that, comics, things like that. And then when it came to comics and stories, things about the stories would always confuse me too. I'm like, why are they doing that? It doesn't make any sense. And then I always thought I was gonna be like MMA martial artist because when I was a kid, back in the 90s.
I remember that.
Yeah, UFC just started, right?
Right.
It started getting really big, like Hoist Gracie and all them, Chemo from Hawaiʻi, like they fought and stuff. So seeing all that, I really wanted to fight, right? So I'm thinking like, oh, I want to be a fighter. So I got into like martial arts and I was doing that for a while. And then I joined the military to kind of get away from the islands because I didn't really see a good way out. There was a lot of like family conflict. I have my own family issues with my dad and blah, 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 abusive childhood and stuff. And so joined the military. I got injured my second tour of duty overseas. And then that kind of canceled my plans for being a fighter. So
the
I had to-
octagon.
yeah. Like I was like, oh, so I can't do that no more. So then I got really depressed. I was married at the time and didn't know what to do, how to proceed and anything. So because my physicality kind of diminished, I kind of figured that I would get into more like teaching. It was my initial thought. I thought I was going to get into education. I went back to school, started majoring in education, realized that working with kids, I would have to work with their parents, and came back into the realization that people do stuff that I don't understand. And then I took a psychology class and I was like, oh, this is talking about all the things I've been asking my whole life. So being Portuguese and nonstop talking forever, I realized that a career in psychology would kind of meet both curiosities. Well, my curiosity and my incessant need to speak and ask questions because I'm infinitely curious about everything. So learning about why people do things and then being able to ask them all the questions I want to ask them, like, and then I get paid for it. Let's totally do that. And then it kind of turned into an actual like drive or need almost to help people figure their stuff out. Can I swear on this?
Yeah, because if anything, we'll just bleep it out.
But yeah, like helping people figure their stuff out and like feeling like I'm contributing to the, it's hard to say like the greater good, but like the the need for help and support. Yeah, because people are hurting, people have a hard time, people are sad. From when I was a kid, seeing my dad, even though he was abusive and stuff, seeing the things that he went through as in his childhood, right? His own abuse, his own toxic relationships and stuff like that. It gives us or gives me a better idea of why he was the way he was, which isn't an excuse. You know, just because you go through hard times doesn't make it okay for you to be a bad person to other people. But it does allow me a better idea and open that door toward forgiveness, and which is kind of what
I was going to ask. So as a guy who has his own childhood and previous relationship issues with his own dad, myself, understanding your dad better, like you say, it helped you with forgiveness and all that. How long all that take? Right? Because we're talking about it like in 48 seconds or less. But like, yeah, talk a little bit about like that up and down journey. Because at least for me, I know mine wasn't just up.
Yeah, oh yeah.
There was a lot of MFs and you know, tears and anger, tons of it, broken things for me anyway.
Anger, mostly anger. I struggle with anger. Yeah, take as if it's over. It's never over.
Right. That's kind of what I was getting at. Is like, have you landed in the forgiveness land?
What do you know about
Everything
trauma?
Is so great.
Yeah. So I don't know. My thing is, I really was convinced that I hated my dad because of all like the abusive things. Yeah, like you just can't believe like somebody that is supposed to like keep you safe and take care of you and like watch out for you and teach you things and all that kind of stuff. That expectation and the incongruence with like reality, you know, because like our society, Western society, you have this expectation of what a family unit is and how families are supposed to take care of each other, blah, blah. So when, for me, coming into that conflict, I didn't really understand what was going on because I would actually talk about my abuse because my dad was like physically abusive and verbally abusive. So I would go to school and somebody would, you know, say something. Somebody would come up and I'd be like, "Oh, but what do you do like after your dad punches you? Like don't you know your dad's gonna hit you?" And then they'd be like, "What?" Yeah, and I'm like, wait. So and that was in 6th grade. I remember who I was talking to. Everything Stevenson Intermediate. But it occurred to me at that time that like, oh, maybe this is not like a normal thing. And then like throughout my life, you know, I ended up getting into a fight with my dad, and then like it was really bad. And then after I left his care, because you know my parents split, we were living on the Big Island, whatever, and then I was living with my dad, and then we got into this fight, and then shortly after that, I was basically kind of kicked out. Or just like expected to leave or whatever. And then I kind of didn't talk to my dad again, really. Joined the military and everything. And I was totally happy with like never talking to him again. And just like, you know, internally hating him. And anytime I thought about him, all these emotions come up and I'd just be like pissed. And I'd be like, yeah, I hope he's dead. And like all these really like not really healthy feelings. And then he got really sick and I found out he was dying. And then I was like, okay, who cares? And then I saw him in like pretty much on his deathbed, and then I just felt sorry for him. I was like, man, this dude has like turned into nothing, and I felt really bad. And then I was mad at myself for feeling bad and yada yada. And at this time I was like 26. I'm 40 now. So it wasn't until after he passed, maybe like the year after that, so I was like 27 or something like that. After he passes, when everything kind of hit me, I started having all these like dreams, all this kind of stuff. And then I started going to therapy finally. And honestly, dude, I didn't start going to therapy until after I started going to school
to be a therapist.
Because then I started learning all these things, and I was like, wait, that kind of sounds a lot like what like my experience is, and you're saying that that's a bad thing. So, how am I supposed to help people if I'm going through the same thing and I'm not dealing with it? So I was like, fuck, I better go to therapy or whatever. So then I started going, and then I kind of really learned about myself and about like, you know, what reality is, and what I was doing wasn't healthy. And I was just kind of hurting myself, and I was making everything else harder for myself. I don't know what your experience was like, but like working through those feelings about what I thought was hatred for my dad it turned out to be disappointment, frustration, and like a longing to be validated or any of that, you know what I mean? And so it wasn't really that I hated him. It was really more about, why didn't you treat me the way that I feel like I should have been treated? You know what I mean? And then once I kind of came to that, I was like, oh, it's not a big deal, whatever. And I can't say that like forgiveness is different for everybody,
right?
In my experience, right? And from what I've learned and stuff like that. But whatever your version of forgiveness is, attaining that is really what allows all of our other negative feelings to kind of like dissipate, right? Because once you open that door to like, oh, it's not a big deal, acceptance, right? Like it's over, he's dead, like what's done is done. And even though I'm still mad about the way he treated me, like holding on to that doesn't do me any good. It actually is preventing me from living my life. And after I kind of let go of those things, my injury, or like, because I have chronic pain from my injury, it was a lot easier to deal with all of my pain. Like I was at a constant like 8 or 9. And then once I started accepting those things, all that stress was kind of relieved. And then my thresholds for pain tolerance increased because I wasn't holding on to all this shit. So once that happened, I was able to attend school more. And then, not having to take off so much, being able to go back to work like full time, those types of things. I had multiple jobs at one time, where from 2006 when I was injured to 2014 or so, I didn't have a job. I was going to school, getting paid for my GI Bill and stuff.
Oh, military stuff. Yeah, right.
So like, I guess to add that, long story long.
No, we're a fan of that.
It took me my whole life. Pretty much took me 40 years. Because I mean, it wasn't really that recent that I kind of got over things. It was more, I think I kind of got over it really maybe like right before COVID is when I kind of got to the tail end of all of those like really hard feelings. So it took me years. Like once I started therapy, maybe like 5 years ish, about 2015. Yeah. About 4 or 5 years. And it's a long process, man.
I like the way that you described it too, where because you're holding on to so much and you have like physical, like chronic pain issues, the type of, like you have the kind of pain everybody knows how to identify very easily, right? Oh, ouch, that hurts.
Yeah.
So I like the way you just said it kind of relieve some of that. So your pain threshold changed.
Yeah.
Like we've never talked about that before. I'm like, so it really is, right? Mind and body and the emotions or spirit, whatever you want to call all that stuff. All that stuff's just super connected.
Yeah, man. Like, so the way I explain to my clients sometimes, and even, chronic pain, or because I mean, kind of anything, you can relate it to anything depending on your field, whatever.
Right.
What I'm saying,
it's all relative. Right?
Yeah.
There's a way to like,
but like chronic pain specifically, because of the constantness and the severity and stuff like that. If you like, we have 2 hands, right?
Right.
Like I can pick this bottle. I can grab the microphone. I can grab this thing. But eventually I'll have to start using the in-betweens of my fingers to hold on to things. And then like my elbows, and then like my shoulders. And then once I have max capacity holding on to stuff, if something else comes in and I can't hold on to it, what am I going to do? You know what I mean? I'm going to stress out and be like, oh, I need to grab another thing. And then anxiety and like all this stuff. So if we're holding on and we're at max capacity all the time, and then something comes up that we need to deal with, what are we going to let go? And how do we let go of it? If we feel like everything is so important that we have to keep holding on, at some point on a long enough timeline, it's unsustainable. Yeah, but we don't really realize that until we get to the unsustainable period. And then we're like, oh, I need to go to therapy.
And it's like the alarms are going off, right?
Yeah.
Your body, your mind, everything is telling you there's something has to change.
Absolutely. And that, I feel like that's a very like Western type of ideology, where like we learn to deal with problems reactively rather than proactively. So more like on the indigenous side of things, like native type of ideologies. Yeah, whether you're talking about Polynesian, Hawaiian, Native American, whatever. A lot of those cultures deal with proactive health. So it's prevention rather than
intervention.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So if we try to take care of ourselves and do maintenance, you know what I mean? Like we attend to things before they happen, and we make sure that our path is stable going forward, rather than just kind of like garbaging through it or whatever, and then dealing with all the cuts and bruises after the fact. It takes longer to front load things, but longitudinally, it's a healthier way of dealing with things to make sure that things are set. And then there are some times where you can't do that because things come up and you have to react immediately. Sure. But that should be the extreme. That should be the thing that we only do in these times, because we're not really built for constant attentiveness. You know what I mean? Like that is not really how our minds work. If we're at a constant like 10 anxiety because we're always worried about like, oh, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? That's not good. But if we're never worried about anything until it happens, that's also
not good. Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So like it's a balance.
Yeah.
Basically.
You know, as a guy who I grew up here, like you, I very much identify more as like I'm just a Western person. You know, I've told you this before. I tell plenty of people, I'm not the best local guy. I'm not the best Hawaiian or any of that stuff. For whatever, that's just the way I was raised, right? Or at least the way I feel like I was raised. I don't know. I got here somehow. But so I think of it more Western style. So as you're describing, I know I was going to ask you about cultural education, and you were doing that for a while, and indigenous culture versus kind of the Western treatment methodology. Because technically speaking, you're clinically trained in the Western ways, quote unquote, right? You're a licensed mental health counselor, got your master's degree. You did all the typical Western school stuff. So how did you get into, you know, teaching culture, helping people get connected that way, an indigenous mindset, or however it's better, you know, framed better?
That's an interesting question, because so born and raised here, growing up here with as light of a skin as I have, I was always haole boy. Yeah, so everywhere I went, I'm bullied for being white, haole or whatever. And as a kid, I felt like I had to prove myself, like speak harder pidgin, pronounce Hawaiian words better, and stuff like that.
You had to like be more Hawaiian. You had to be more local.
Yeah.
Because you look lighter.
Yeah. And then so growing up like that, I had that side of like, I wasn't good enough. And then on my family side, the Hawaiian side of my family, out in Makaha and stuff, like they didn't treat me like that. They accepted me, and cause like my dad has a bunch of kids from several different women. And the brothers that I grew up with are split between the Hawaiian side and then the Puerto Rican side. So my mom's side of the family, Puerto Rican Portuguese. My dad's side of the family is Korean, French, Irish. And then my brother's side, their mom is the Hawaiian side. But we didn't know. Me growing up, we weren't told that we weren't blood Hawaiian, because they treated us, we were family. Hawaiian style, Hanai, your family, your family. Genealogy is what it is, and how you claim things, like it's a whole thing, right? And it's very complicated. But I considered myself Hawaiian because I thought I was blood Hawaiian as a kid. But my brothers accepted us. You know, they went Kamehameha and danced hula and, you know, imu every year, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and like we just kind of grew up like that. And I had a identity crisis in the military when I was like 20. Somebody asked me like, oh, how much Hawaiian I was. I was like, oh, I don't think I know what percentage I am. So then I called my brothers, and my brothers are like, oh, blood? No. Dad's not Hawaiian. My mom is Hawaiian. Auntie is Hawaiian. And I was like,
what's that now?
Yeah. Like, one more time. And I didn't really understand, because like I was in super denial. But once it hit me, I was like, oh, wow, I've been like basically disrespecting Hawaiians this whole time by claiming that I was Hawaiian. But the way that I was taught by Kumu later on is the idea of Hanai and how genealogy works. And so, because like King Kamehameha had a bunch of Hanai kids. He had 2 black sons, black as in like
African American,
Right.
or
Or
African.
Yeah.
African.
And the way that Hanai worked, as I understand it, traditionally, is you are accepted as if you were birthed from the same Hanau. Yeah, you're different, or your mother's my mother, basically, as if we came from the same birthing place. Yeah, so my genealogy is your genealogy. The only difference is without the blood, a certain rankings and privileges and stuff can't be attained, but that genealogy is still there for you perpetually. Yeah, to call on them, to ask for guidance and help and stuff like that. So with that kind of idea in mind, it allowed me to better accept myself. I don't claim that I am a blood Hawaiian like Kanaka. But I do claim to be Hawaiian from Hawaii. Yeah, and those are differences and very important. I feel like differences. But I in no way feel like I intend to disrespect the culture. I want to perpetuate the culture. I hope that my people or the Hawaiian people are strong and full of hope, and they accomplish everything that they want and we want together. And some of the cultural influences or not influences, but the cultural practices that I learned, like a la'olapa'au, Hawaiian plant medicine. I learned from certain Kumu Hawaiian people of the blood, from the land, Hua'aina, some might say, that can trace their genealogy back for days or for generations. And in the old style with the ko, the sugar cane, yeah, when they used to chant per knuckle and things like that. So the people that I learned from, I totally respect, and I feel like that they've teach me a lot of really important things that I would like to perpetuate and help other people with. So like plant medicine, like I've always been a plant boy. I love plants. I love growing plants, taking care of plants. But useful plants are the best things for me. Like it's kind of crazy how different the Western world and the indigenous world work. One is work for me and one is work with me. Yeah, it's individualism and collectivism. Yeah, like we're in this together, and I'm gonna pull myself up by the bootstraps. Like I don't want to ask for help. I don't need you and whatever. And then when it comes down, like, oh, okay, I need help, ego gets in the way and pride and all that kind of stuff. So like, not only did I learn all about plants and how to use it medicinally, I also learned how to work with the Aina and the world, and what the reciprocation is, and how to ask and show gratitude and love and aloha and all that kind of things. Ho'omanavanui, where like patience, because plants don't produce immediately. And if they get sick, you need to care for the plant. What is the medicine for the plant? Medicine. You know what I mean? Like when there's a white fly, when there's like black spot, and when there's like root rot and all those kinds of things, do you just give up on the plant and let it die? And like, oh, well, sometimes, yes, sometimes that is what is necessary. And then sometimes you have to try other solutions. And it's the same thing with behavioral health, where the same, even though we have like a list of strategies and techniques and approaches to help people with their issues, one thing isn't going to work for everybody, and
Right.
you have to be willing to take multiple approaches. And you can find that in pretty much everything that we do. And the way that I was taught is very like I kind of compare it to Mr. Miyagi,
Okay.
where it's like like wax
Wax
tar.
on, wax, yeah.
Wax on, wax off,
Yeah,
and then
wax
you
on,
gotta
wax
paint the
off.
fence.
Yep.
Yeah. So Daniel-san was like, "Oh, this is so dumb."
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't like that. I promise, I wasn't like. I was like, I'll paint the fence.
I'm painting.
I paint and wax at the same time. Whatever you tell me to do, I trust you. But like that idea of you're doing this, but it pertains in more ways than just painting a fence. Yeah, I mean, it is the strike, it is the block, it is the whatever. And then taking care of plants allowed me to take care of people in a very similar way. So I kind of use that cultural ideology to create a different, more holistic approach rather than just being like, tell me what's wrong with you, and oh, tell me about your father, and blah blah blah. It's more like, what do you like to do? Like, how do you like to do it? How often do you like to do it? You know, it's not always about your parents, even though we were just kind of talking about
Dads.
parents. Yeah.
I have this kind of, as a side note, I always have this thing. It's always about a boy and his dad.
Or mom. Mommy issues.
Or mom.
Huge thing, man.
Yeah. Mom issues are a huge thing. Actually, when you were talking about forgiveness and dad, I was thinking, oh, I have a lot more forgiveness to do for my mom. Yeah.
Oh,
Dad.
appreciate
I
that.
let a lot of stuff go about dad. I love dad. Love dad.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. I got to work
Tell
on
me
the,
about that.
Now I got to work on the mom forgiveness.
I know, right?
Yeah. Sorry, Mom, if you're watching. So as a therapist, right? Western trained, but then also indigenous culture connected to our people, you know, as someone who has Hawaiian blood, I always think of you as a quote unquote better Hawaiian, but I would think of something like that as like a Westerner type, you know, mindset kind of person. But I think you're a great representative of our people and our culture. And I love that you're trying to perpetuate it because there's not a lot, right? I mean, volume wise, there's not a lot of Hawaiians who are doing that. And
well,
right, you know what I mean?
I thought you were talking about the population. I was like, there's not a lot of Hawaiians left. That's true.
Yeah.
There's really not a lot of Hawaiians left.
Right.
I wouldn't say that there's not a lot of Hawaiians doing that. I feel like there are a lot of Hawaiians doing that. It's just, we're not all on the same page. I personally feel like we have a lot of really good people, you know, native wise in the community that are doing, like, perpetuating the things that they've learned. But we sometimes, when we miss each other, when we have different ways of doing things, we concentrate more on how you're doing that and kind of criticizing each other for like, oh, you're not doing that correctly, when that's more less important than what we're trying to do. Yeah. And if the correctness, and of course, like, you know, everything in its time, because when you do something incorrectly, it's really based on what like, is it a style? Is that what you're talking about? Or are you talking about the act itself? Like, if you're doing an oli and you're doing an oli for a blessing space, right? You're blessing a space, but the oli that you're using is inappropriate because that oli is more for a person. That would be an incorrect thing. You know what I mean? Like, you're trying to boil water in a frying pan. Like, you can do that, but actually it's worse than that. Okay. It's like you're trying to eat soup with a fork type of thing. You know what I mean? Like, you need the right implement or tool to use, because you can bless a space with a oli that's used to bless a person, but it doesn't make sense. Like, that, what are you doing that for? Because you're not using the appropriate words, you're not asking the appropriate things. You know what I mean? Like, in that sense, that could be considered wrong. But when you're talking about like details of what fruit we're providing for makana, or as a gift to show appreciation and stuff, like, oh, you shouldn't have used that fruit. Like, because of the modernness of the times, and like comparing that to traditional representations and like how we used to do things compared to how we do things now, words change, languages change, accents change, behaviors change. The kapu system is no longer in effect. Like, things change, and we either adapt with it or we go away with it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like, if we can't be patient and, you know, accept one another, one of the strongest things I feel like was one of the strongest things I learned, or most important things I learned from one of my kahu, one of my kumu, is we all should take better care of each other and love each other. You know what I mean? And like, forgive each other. And like, if somebody's doing something that you find inappropriate, either let them do it if that's not bothering you, or if it's not impacting you. If you feel like it's impacting you, address it, but there's no reason to be unkind. You know what I mean? Because we don't know everything. They may have learned incorrectly, and criticizing them for something out of their hands where they truly believe that this is the correct way, if you can address it in a more aloha type approach, I feel like it would be better for all of us.
I was just thinking about that. I was thinking love on the other person, right? Like you so in approaching it with loving kindness. And isn't that just a great way to approach people in general, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you're right. Like it's because we don't know
Mm.
what people have gone through, right? How they got to wherever they got to. Yeah.
And I can't say that like I'm guilty of that myself. You know, I don't 100% of the time have like this Buddha type of, oh, let's love and kumbaya and stuff like that. It's a great idea.
To strive.
Yeah, obviously, yeah, for sure. But it's in my opinion and my experience, it's not possible to do 100% of the time. Sometimes our emotions get the best of us. Sometimes things like really annoy us or trigger us that we don't expect to trigger us. Sometimes it's just low blood sugar. You know what I mean? Like sometimes a person just hungry. We need to have a snack. But when those things come out, if we're unable to admit fault or to analyze and to apologize and to accept wrong, we can't change it. You're just going to keep allowing yourself to do that because either you're not holding yourself accountable or other people aren't holding you accountable because you're making them afraid of you. So they avoid you. So you're continuing to get your way or whatever it is. You know what I mean? So the approach, the idea of following that path is great, but unless we can take the necessary steps to ensure that that path is well kept and like maintained,
Or we're actually on the path.
yeah,
Right?
yep,
Not just say we're on the path, but keep repeating.
yeah. Because sometimes we meander,
Sure.
you know what I mean, and then if we don't realize that we've gone off, then we can't get back on. And you can only recognize like if you are adamant, like no, I'm still on it. Like, okay, whatever, buddy. But if nobody lets you know, and if you're not paying attention, like you can be off it, and then how long are you off for? You know what I mean? So, accountability, basically.
As a therapist, I wanted to ask you, I mean, I think I know the answer, but I wanted to hear your perspective in general of the people that you're helping right now. Is there kind of like trends or patterns as in, like who do you normally help? You know what I mean? Like what's like more some of the common things that you help folks out with?
That's an interesting question specifically for me because I feel like I'm more well known to take like difficult cases.
Sure.
Because that's the most interesting for me, and I'm not shy about helping or at least attempting to help people that have like really severe issues, we'll say.
Yeah.
So the common ones for me, I feel like the common ones for all therapists is always going to be anxiety and depression.
Sure.
Usually at the same time, sometimes one more than the other, or kind of like goes back and forth. But I guess the most common for me is abuse, sexual abuse, or sexual abusers. That's one of the areas that I'm kind of specializing in. And then trauma in general, grief, kind of like the heavy stuff.
And then do you find now that you kind of just also gravitate towards like those heavier kind of cases, or what do you think?
I have always gravitated towards
Always?
Yeah. Because of the way that I grew up, it's always been a part of who I am to I was gonna say judge people. It's pretty judgmental. I'm like, oh, you got that ain't
Like
a problem.
No.
You're just mad that you're not whatever. But like, I honestly feel like I do better when people are in more like crisis,
like higher distress.
Yeah. Because like for some reason, I have a lot more patience for people that are really going through it. Like, and it's not my place to judge what really going through it is.
Sure.
It's more about like how I feel that your energy about whatever you're worried about is. Like I have a client right now who is struggling with really high anxiety because she has chronic pain from an injury on the job 10 years ago. And she's also dealing with like a kind of what she feels like is a hostile home environment. She lives with a family member who is, on, by all definitions, abusive. But if I were to say or compare it to my life, and I'm like, oh, that's not anywhere near as abusive as like my fam or my dad was to me. Like, why are you worried about
Like,
it?
what are you
Like,
complaining
that's
about?
not helpful at all.
Right.
The fact that she is afraid to be at home is severe. That is a high severity case. It doesn't matter if she's afraid to be at home because she doesn't want to be around her family member who is just angry all the time. Yeah. Or she doesn't want to be at home because he's beating her. In either case, she's afraid to be at home. So for me, I see that as a severe case. But if somebody is upset or experiencing anxiety on a level of like, I hate being in traffic, like to me, that is a much less severe thing, even though they might be feeling that anxiety at like a 10. Like to me, it's not really about the traffic at that point. Or they might have some type of like chemical imbalance or organic brain disorder that was undiagnosed or whatever it is. Because the severity at which they're feeling the anxiety doesn't really equate to the trigger that is what in their mind causing it. So I will do some work to see if there's something else going on. And if I determine that the person is the personality type that is overreactive, which isn't a bad thing. Some people just have like, they go from 0 to 10 and with no in between. I don't feel like I work well with that
population.
Yeah.
Call it.
And that I can think of. I don't think I've ever referred anyone out that I can think of. But I know that if I come across something that I feel like I'm not the best fit for, I'll refer them. But as of right now, my caseload is mostly like trauma cases.
I meant to ask you this earlier, but so before you are doing that, you're doing this, what you just described. Tell me a little bit about the training part, the internship and the practicum student type stuff. Because I've heard some horror stories, right? As people know, because I say it as often as I can, I'm not a clinician and I didn't go to college. So although I work with a bunch of you folks and a bunch of medical providers and behavioral health providers, I didn't actually go through all that. But I've heard some of the horror stories of being placed at, different sites as you're in college or getting your master's or whatever. Yeah. Tell me about your kind of formal training experience in behavioral health.
Yeah. Interesting. I don't really have any horror stories, and it might be that.
Awesome. I would love to hear whatever the opposite of a horror story is, the good story.
Yeah. Well, the only reason I say that is because like thinking about it like just because like things have to be really, really intense for me to be like, wow, that was bad. Because sometimes I'll talk about things and other people will be like, wow, that's crazy. I'm like, that's like a 3 on the scale. I'm like, maybe I shouldn't tell you about the 5 case. Because like for me, like I was placed at the comp in Waianae for my internship in like 2017. And I did my internship there with the substance abuse population, and then I was doing also cultural stuff up there. So
cool.
Like my experience was phenomenal. Like I learned a lot. The reason why I got into, which I guess goes back to your other question, the kind of avenue or the opportunity that presented itself was I was asked if I could blow a poo for an event that was going on, and by one of the other providers that also engages in all like the cultural stuff. And I was like, yeah, because I used to blow poo. My brother taught me how. My fisherman brother, when I was a kid, and I hadn't done it since I was a kid. And then I was like, yeah, I can do that. And then I went and did that. And then I was asked to continue doing it. And then I kept doing it. And then it led from, kind of like Pukani type stuff to more plant medicine stuff, which led to some Ho'oponopono engagements. Now, I'm not saying that I've been in Ho'oponopono sessions.
Okay.
I've trained a little bit with one of the kahu, one of the kumu that is a practitioner of Ho'oponopono, but was never, fully realized as that. So I've never conducted any Ho'oponopono sessions, but I have learned like the basic outline and ideas, at least in this style, which comes from the Iho. But besides that, my clinical experience at the comp was really interesting because I part of my tumultuous past is like there's like drug use and like substance abuse, being around people that were kind of like in the scene or in the streets and stuff like that. And because of that, coming across this population, because I was familiar with the population during the abuse, and now I'm dealing with the population after the consequences, where most of them are mandated to be there by law as a part of the conditions of their parole. So dealing with those types of clients, mandated clients, are for me more difficult to deal with because they're more resistant. Like they don't want to be there, so they just kind of like go through the motions and stuff like that. And I really learned a lot about, like, I thought I knew a lot about lies and like obfuscation and omission, things like that, but I didn't know nothing. I learned a lot about like how to read people in certain ways, body language, just kind of like the way that their energy changes or word usage and stuff like that. Like sometimes it's a longitudinal lie, so it's consistent, it's wrong. It's consistent, it's wrong, it's wrong. So then once that change pattern is established, then we kind of revisit the details, and then it's like, oh, you were lying to me this whole time. Like, all right, so now trust is broken and we kind of have to rebuild all that kind of stuff. But it was more about learning how to build rapport with my clients. Is I feel like the biggest thing that came out of my internship.
Nice.
Is learning how to relate to people in a way that I can gain their trust and they trust that I'm actually trying to help them rather than trying to like screw them over or, you know, I want to,
or kind of like pseudo law enforcement them, right? You know, like, what is it? Like more, you know what I mean? Like more punitive way of treating them.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you're not doing what I want you to do, so I'm going to tell your PO. Like I've never done that.
Right.
I've never done that hands down ever in my life. Because I feel like that is one of the, well, I'm going to say dumbest things. This is one of the most unproductive approaches for what I'm trying to do. Like as a therapist, as a clinician, I'm trying to help people, and threatening them is not helpful.
Right.
But reminding them of consequences, I feel like is completely different, right?
Yeah.
A threat and a consequence, two different things. Punishment, consequence, two different things. You put your hand in water, the consequence is your hand gets wet.
Right.
If you put your hand in that water, I'm going to hit you. That is a punishment. You know what I mean? That's not a consequence. So we have to kind of pick and choose how we establish rules. And some people establish rules as like, what is Castro? Dictator?
Yeah.
And then other people establish rules as like a leader. Yeah. Or a teacher or a friend or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So as long as we can identify what style we're approaching things, then we can understand what clients work better for us. And that's kind of like rapport building. How do we build rapport? What type of person am I talking to? How do I get them to understand, not to convince them, but to understand that I'm really here just to help them? This is kind of like my internship in a nutshell.
What would you say your style is?
If I'm being honest, I am confrontational. I don't beat around the bush with things. I don't tell people in a nice, loving and friendly, like, oh, we can.
So it's not a warm hug? Like your guidance isn't always a warm hug? Is that what you're saying?
I'm here. Yo, if you want a hug, I got you.
Yeah.
Like, but let me know. But I ain't starting with a hug. I ain't here to be like, hey, everything's gonna be okay. Because that could be a lie.
That could be a lie.
I could accidentally be like giving you false hope because I don't know where you're at. So I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna try my best. I'm gonna try my hardest. I'm gonna do everything I can. But the way that I do that is I'm gonna tell you things sometimes that you might not want to hear, and I'm not trying to hurt your feelings. So if you feel like I'm hurting your feelings, please let me know. And then I will try to adjust as best I can. But I'm not going to let you get away with things that you're telling me.
That's like
that
you said you don't want to.
Exactly. Right. Like you don't want to be this way. So if I see you going toward that way, I'm going to be like, do you not think that you're going that way? Like, it seems to me like you're going that way. So I'm more, I would say that that's confrontational. But I try not to be combative or aggressive, stuff like that. But I don't pull my punches, and I kind of like to get to the point. Otherwise, I feel like I'm wasting everybody's time because I ain't here. We can get into politics all we want, talk about how insurance works in this country, but we ain't here for all that. All I'm saying is, like, I ain't here. If I was here for the money, I'd be working in Hawaiʻi. You know what I mean? Like, where are the people that have such difficult problems? Right? Nah, that's condescending. Oh, my bad. I'm sorry, Hawaiʻi. My bad.
Yeah.
My bad.
Yeah. Maybe less severe.
Yeah.
Less severe.
No, they got problems too.
Yeah.
It's hard, man.
Yeah,
man, keeping that money is difficult.
Yeah.
Phew.
Or I think, like you said too, right? Like the response, like we were talking about the traffic example, right? Where someone may still feel it's like 8, 9, 10, but perhaps the facts of the situation are perhaps a little less severe than, say, someone going home and getting physically, getting violence at them. Like, if we're just talking factual, right? Objectively speaking, there's violence versus I don't want to give a speech at work, right?
Right.
So I hear what you're saying. Like,
and
it's like not necessarily a judgment call, but we are trying to also like.
Yeah, and then it's like, it really is like a preference thing because, like, I'm not trying to make anyone feel like it was a joke. I'm sorry. It was a joke. It's a joke. I really am. It's more of a judgment call for all of us. If we don't want to deal with something, then don't be in the area. Like, I'm not a beach person. I love the ocean, Malamakai, and like I love all that. We need all that stuff, fish and stuff like that. But I don't go there because it's hot. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not a sun person, so I don't go in the sun. I'm not saying that the sun is bad. I'm not saying that heat is wrong. Yeah. I'm just saying I don't like that, so I avoid it. But I love me a forest because it's nice and shady. You got all the plants in there. It's like health. I like being in the dirt. I was always a dirt and stick kid. Like, let's dig holes. I mean, let's not talk about that. But like, I have my preferences, and like certain populations is just not my preference. And I feel like I'm not doing them the service that they're looking for if I'm not 100% in it. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I am totally okay with like a transitional type of influence where if they're looking for a provider and I'm one of the providers that they're going to be passing through, I will let them know, like, I don't think we're going to be working together. It's never happened yet, but I'm comfortable enough to know where my boundaries are and what my thresholds are. I'm like, this one's not going to work for me. I hope you get all of the care that you need. I can see you until you find someone else, or I can refer you out, or whatever it is. Yeah. Or if one of the other providers are on vacation or something, and I will take their clients that I wouldn't normally see. Yeah. That has happened a few times where I'm like, oh yeah, that's probably why I'm so confident. Actually, I've seen other people's clients, and I'm like, I would not see this client if it was like my choice. Like
if I wasn't covering or something, right? Super temporary, transitional, like you said.
But like anything else, people have foods that they avoid and whatever. And I guess I kind of feel a little bit bad, like talking about the population as if they're just like a thing that I either
off
want
the menu.
or don't want.
Right.
But because there are people and stuff, but absolutely. That I feel like is reserved to the individual. When I come in face-to-face contact with the person, then, flexibility being what it is, it might change my opinion and stuff like that. But as a whole, I have these general boundaries and lines, and then I stay within those things.
Yeah. No, and that's good. I take it as that's from like a clinical standpoint, and then of course knowing yourself. But then me as a guy who helps therapists open private practices, there's like a really good business reason to understand that about yourself too, because you got to know who your people are, right? Who are the people that you serve best, and then also that you feel best serving, because it's hard to do anything for a really long period of time successfully, however you define that, if you hate it.
Burnout is a thing, man.
That's like a thing. So, I think, especially like when newer therapists, I don't know if you went through this when you were first like licensed or any of that stuff, but I know I've seen like newer therapists, you just want to see everybody because you just don't know, right? Like, oh man, I gotta make sure I see patients, right? I gotta earn money, whatever. I got school loans. Let me just take everybody. But
I've never done that. I've never done that. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that.
That's like a thing.
Because like, I know I've been given clients that, because like sometimes you don't have a choice. It's just like you have.
That's just where you're at.
Yeah. You have a caseload that has this many slots open, and those slots need to be filled. But I guess I just gotten really lucky because the clients that I've worked with, there's really, to the best of my knowledge right now, thinking about it, there have been like 1 or 2 clients that I didn't really feel 100% dedicated to in the beginning, but then it kind of changed once we uncovered a certain thing, things shifted for me, and then I'm like, oh, now I get it.
Yeah.
So I can't say that that's not the case for literally every single person, because, you know, statistics being what they are, probability and whatnot. I should have had at least one denial, but I don't think I have. So maybe I just feel like I have these boundaries, and then when I see the person, I kind of find a way to be 100% in.
Yeah.
Got me thinking about something now, man.
Yeah.
You're therapizing me.
Well, I like the way you described it and kind of that whole flow. You know, what's funny is because I keep looking to ask this like one question, but we keep ending up on these other topics, but in a good way. Like it feels like the right thing. And I like the way you described your training experience, because I've met some other therapists that's not really their training experience, you know? And then of course met a lot of people who have all these amazing things, you know? But the question is, tell me about like, say 1 or 2 of your professional mentors. And I would love for you to be able to say some nice stuff about them, you know, drop their name if you want to, but I just think it's really cool. We, you know, usually like you never get to say all the nice things to your friend or family member until they're gone, whatever gone means. So yeah, I would love to give some flowers, if you will, to like, some of your
absolutely.
professional mentors, man, and what they mean to you, what you've learned.
Yeah, my number one guarantee is going to be Dr. Wright, Dr. Nikki Wright. She's my first mentor. She continues to be my mentor, peer, my friend. And she's really taught me kind of everything. Like, she's a great example of like what I think therapy should be about, because the way that she described it to me is that for an hour, you need to be someone's friend for an hour. You need to be like, listen, but also you have the clinical mind, which kind of in the background analyzes this, that, and the other thing. But the way that you approach it isn't always it's not always the best thing to say it as it comes up. Sometimes you need to let it percolate, and you just kind of like plant a seed. So they'll say something that's a red flag and you'll be like, oh, interesting. And then you repeat it. Interesting. I didn't know that, blah, blah, blah. And instead of being like, why did you do that? That doesn't seem like, and because that's normally what I would have done. But learning from her, I've come to understand patience more and how to incorporate that into my confrontational style. Because instead of like, because Dr. Wright is very nice. She's very approachable. She laughs a lot.
Come with a warm hug.
Yeah. She's there.
Talk to you with a warm hug. Yeah, right.
Bring it in, friend. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And like, I love that about her. I super appreciate that. And she's really allowed me to kind of open that kind of more fun side up. You know, I'm not really a fun person, kind of boring. But like, I'm able to like joke around with my clients. Whereas before I'd just be like, business. Yeah. Wow.
We're here for this.
Bad. Don't do that. I mean, I don't really do that, but like it basically that.
Yeah.
Where it's like, why are you doing that? Like, you say that you're doing this, but then you're doing that. Like, I don't understand. Like, make it make sense.
Yeah.
Whereas Dr. Wright's approach is more like, wow, how many times? Like, do you do that a lot? You know what I mean? And like watching her do that, I'm like, that's smart. So she's taught me a lot, not only about like professionalism and, you know, approach and things like that, clinical ideas. She's also taught me about like the administrative side and like how to like continue in education, what we need to do, like what types of things to look at, how to schedule stuff, you know, front loading, back loading, like things like that. Like, she kind of just taught me everything, honestly. And then how to avoid burnout, because she works a lot and I'm like floored, because I'm like struggling. I'm like, oh my God, I worked this many hours, and you know, I have a lot of medical issues and stuff, so I go to the hospital a lot and everything. But she sees a lot of people, and how do you listen constantly for 8, 10, 12 hours a day to people's like he beat me, she stabbed me, they hurt me, this happened to me, I was in an accident, crying, like all this really negative kind of energy coming at you all the time. How do you not hold on to it? And how do you like kahi that, like get rid of it?
Yeah.
So Dr. Wright, number one. I also had a mentor at the comp, Kaliko, Dr. Chang.
Oh yeah, Dr. Chang.
Yeah. He taught me about objectivity and the clinical mind versus the opinionated personal mind. And he taught me this technique that I still use today of like having this third eye, watching as if you're watching the session happen, you know, and being more objective about what things look like from a broader approach or broader understanding perspective, whatever you want to call it. And then he also taught me a lot about like cultural things. He's a Lomi person, if not a master. I'm not. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah.
But he does do, and he has been doing Lomi for a long time. And I would love to quote his Lomi genealogy. But I don't think we have time for that. But he taught me, not Lomi, but he taught me that there's a time and a place for things. And when, like, it's kind of like the jump rope. Yeah. At what time? Yeah. Very similar to Dr. Wright's, where she kind of like plants a seed and then she kind of waits for it to germinate and stuff like that. The patient, Kaliko taught me more about when to jump in. Like what that timing is during the session of how long you let them speak, when to interrupt, when to hold your tongue, stuff like that. So that was great. And then of course, Uncle Kepa, who was my main kahu, who taught me a lot of cultural things, lao lapa'au, things like that. Like he was very philosophical, and he kind of showed me how to connect things or what to connect, and relationships and how things are related. When someone says this, what is the intent? What is the meaning? How is the meaning? Like what is missing is the biggest thing that he taught me. Is like he has this kind of like Buddhist philosophy of what makes a bowl useful is the empty space. It's the missing part that makes the bowl a bowl. You can't have a filled in bowl because it's not a bowl, it's a table, right? That's a different usefulness. The thing that makes a wheel useful is the hole in the middle, the spoke. Yeah. Otherwise, it's just a disc and it rolls on its own. But to make it useful, you poke a hole in it.
To attach something to it.
And then it becomes a tire. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's that kind of idea that he taught me, like, what is missing from this thing? You're not, if you come at someone with the idea that they're broken and you're trying to fix them, that's already heva. You're already putting and expecting the worst. So you come at them, seeing them as whatever they're presenting themselves to be. And then you look for the missing piece. You look for, does this need a hole or does it have too many holes? Is this a bowl or a table? Is this a spoon or a fork? Yeah, so that kind of concept is the biggest thing that he taught me, and I really love him for that.
Interesting. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I've never asked you about it before, but I've always been curious too. Not just for the show's reason. I've been curious as well. Because obviously I knew about the first one, but I wanted to know about the other. Yeah, and I never heard Uncle Kepa's name until today. So that's
Uncle
cool.
Kepa Hart.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I've been wanting to ask you about this because it's kind of like in this topic that means a lot to me. You, as a male therapist, are in a female-dominated field, right? So as you, I don't know if you've thought about it or whatever, but as you were going through on your way to being a therapist, between friends, family, or whoever's like close to you, did you get any like pushback or like questions like, why do you want to do that for? Or, you know what I mean? Any of that kind of stuff? Nope. Or is your experience as a male therapist, do you even think about that? Or is it all kind of...
Oh, absolutely. You definitely think about that.
Okay, yeah.
The first part where like judgment, if that's what you're asking, or like questioning, stuff like that.
You know, that kind of societal expectation type of stuff. Yeah, you know,
my family is very supportive, and especially because like, so funny thing, real quick, just as a side note, my last name, Nourrie, I used to be very embarrassed about because of how like holy sounding it is, because it's French.
Yeah.
Also, I have my dad's name. I'm a junior, and my dad, me seeing him as a bad person, I was like, oh, my name is garbage. I have the whitest name, so call me Junior instead, right?
Yeah.
And now I go by Kupu because I was gifted the Hawaiian name. But our name is actually really meaningful in my opinion. Nourrie means to nourish in the present tense of the verb in French.
Okay.
Yeah, Nourrie.
Yeah. Or
I'm sorry to my French people if I pronounce that incorrectly. But its literal translation is to nourish. So it's contextual, like Hawaiian language is contextual, depending on how you use it. So it could mean to fill a hole, or to provide a bridge, or to cook a meal, to like give food, or to like care for someone. And every one of my brothers has a support type job. My oldest brother is a fireman. The one below him is a fisherman. The one below him is a chef. There's me in this field, and my younger brother creates things, and he's always created things. What is it called? He builds things.
Okay.
He makes a fabricator.
Okay. Yeah.
He's also an artist, really good artist, by the way. And like we all kind of live up to our name unexpectedly. Like, we didn't choose to. So my family is very supportive of anything that is helpful. Yeah, that side of the family, both sides of the family, and like kind of pretty much everyone in my family is successful, honestly. Like, and we don't really judge each other. We don't put each other down. Like, we love each other, and we kind of like express that.
Awesome.
However, in the field,
yeah,
you have to consider your gender, or at least your identity, and also how your clients perceive you. So, being male, the way that I look, my height, my
they can't tell on camera, but you're like a tall guy. You're
like 6'3".
Yeah, right.
6'2.5".
You're like a big guy.
Yeah. But like, all those things are important because certain people are not comfortable with male therapists. Certain people are not comfortable with female therapists. Certain people are not comfortable if their therapist doesn't identify like LGBT or political or anything like that. So who you are, I feel like if you are a genuine person and you don't try to fit into something, like I recently just had a client who chose to request a female therapist because I'm male, and she was having issues with males. So obviously she doesn't want to see a male. Totally understand. I'm not going to be like, well, let's try me out first and like make you uncomfortable.
Right.
Like, it's not helpful for me. So I always consider my presence. That said, as you can tell, like, I got slippers on. I wear t-shirt and jeans every day. I'm not really the collar and tie type.
Right.
And if my clients perceive that as unprofessional or whatever, that is something that I'm not willing to adjust to make them feel comfortable. If they don't like me for my gender, if they choose not to be in my care because of my gender, I can't help that. But I can help how I look, but I choose to be comfortable.
Right.
And this environment or this company allows me to feel comfortable. Yeah. And I'm cool with that. I'm not wearing shorts, I'm not wearing a tank top and coming in and being like, or whatever. So like,
dragging the sand in.
Yeah, because I don't like pants. Pants are like, oh my God. Lava. No, that's not true. I don't wear lava. But shorts, I like shorts. I wear, like, it's hot, man. This is an island. It's so hot all the time.
It's hot.
But as far as my clients are concerned, like, I do definitely have clients that prefer not males, and I have had clients in the past that, because I have a beard, they're like, oh, I really like your facial hair. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I'm like, okay, you want me to refer you? Because I'm not shaving to make you feel better. That's not cool.
Yeah.
But sometimes I have had clients that are like, well, I've never had a male therapist before. I'm like, well, I'm willing if you're willing. Like, I promise I'm cool, but unless you give me a chance, it's not gonna, because I'm good either way, your choice. You know what I mean? I like to ensure and emphasize their control and their consent and their right, you know, because I'm not gonna force anybody to do anything they don't want to do. That's lame.
Plus, as a therapist, and even for them, like hard to get the work done, right? Like the work that they want to get accomplished. If it's like if somebody comes to therapy and wants to heal, let's just say in super simple terms, but then they just can't figure out how to get comfortable with their therapist, male or female, doesn't matter. Like that's not conducive to the healing.
True.
Right. I know there's like a area where that's probably something to work on, but in general, right? Yeah.
That's like generally speaking, totally. But it could also work the other way and be like I said, I've never had a male therapist. I'm a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, right.
Like, okay, give me a try. But if they're adamant from the get-go, they're like, I can't have, then that's a no.
Right.
Right. So I'm good with that. But sometimes like people do need to be allowed to be uncomfortable.
Right.
Like, absolutely. And I will encourage, like, you know, you can't get buff. No one's Bruce Lee overnight. You got to put in the work. That stuff is uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Like when you get a cut and you need to clean it out, it doesn't feel good. You're not putting alcohol on it to be like, wee, this is fun. Woo, I love this. It hurts. It burns. It stings or whatever. It's uncomfortable, but it's good for you. You know what I mean? That discomfort leads to healthy outcomes, generally speaking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You go to the gym and you work out in a good way, you get sore muscles the next day. And then like you kind of learn, well, at least for me, like that feels good. Like that's a good bruise.
Same.
But then like if you go too hard.
There is going too hard.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then you wake up and you're like, oh my God, I can't lift my arm because like there's something wrong.
Not good.
That's not good. That's not a good pain. That's like, oh man, now I can't go for a week or whatever it is. Yeah. I've never been a gym rat. So, but like I do understand like with martial arts and stuff, like you do katas over and over and over and over and over and over. If you do it too much, there's a point where you're gonna have to take a break for a long time, and then like you fiend and you have all these things, you have like withdrawal basically, and you're like, I don't like this. So then you have to like balance and manage yourself. But overall, you know, the point is discomfort is not always a bad thing.
No,
and a lot of the time we need friction in order to grow.
Yes, you know what I mean? No, 1,000%. As an aside, people know that I do CrossFit, especially if you don't do it, right? Then you know that I do it. So anytime people come to where we're, hey, the first rule of CrossFit is always talk about CrossFit. Okay.
So basically, you're the vegan of the fitness world. That is what you're saying.
Yeah, everybody got to hear about it. But I always tell people when they come to work out with me, just remember, throwing up is a bad thing, right? Like the idea that we got to work out so hard till we throw up, that's not good. Like, and that's not what we do.
Is that just getting rid of the weakness?
No, sure. Oh, that's weakness leaving the body. Yeah. That's one way to frame that.
I heard that. It's definitely a thing.
So the other thing I wanted to ask you is about masculinity and what it means to be a man. What does that mean to you?
Interesting.
Yeah. I've interviewed mostly females for the podcast, so I was looking forward to this part selfishly, and I know there's a lot of value for the audience, whoever they may be. It's definitely a lot of value for the audience.
Yeah, that whole idea, that concept, I feel like is completely useless. Honestly. Because like it creates such a separation between people. Because we're all people. And although men and women and non-binary and like everybody is different, we have different feelings and stuff like that. If you put an expectation on a label, then it's easier to segregate that person because, they didn't check all the boxes. You didn't check enough boxes. Like what it means to be a man to me is to be myself. You know, I can appreciate things. I can cry about stuff. I can laugh about stuff. I can call things cute. I can hurt people if they try to hurt me or defend myself or whatever it is. But I expect women to do the same thing. Like enjoy your life. Do the things that you want to do, but don't be a dick. Don't hurt people. You know what I mean? What it means to be a man is to let people be themselves. And likewise, you be yourself. And just like be a person first. Yeah. What about that? Well, that.
Person first.
Person first. I'm gonna get that bumper sticker. But yeah, like the whole because then we get into like the complicated like social issue of like gender and then what is equality and then who gets what and stuff like that. But it's kind of like I feel like unnecessary, overcomplicated, unnecessary argument or discussion to have in the first place. Because if we are just not dicks, then we don't have to argue about anything. You know what I mean?
I find that interesting. And as I keep doing the show, or even if when I'm not doing the show, just like, you know, meeting more people, I want to continue to ask more dudes, more guys about that, you know? And so I like your answer. It's not one that I expected. I'm curious. You always kind of felt that way?
No.
Okay. How'd you get there? Yeah. Like, tell us about like some more of the origin part of it and then how you get to here.
Yeah. So like as a kid, my dad's generation was the greatest generation. Was he greatest? He was Vietnam era. I don't know, whatever. He grew up in the man's man world. You know what I mean? Where like you pay the bills and the woman cooks the food and whatever.
Yep.
So we were raised with you're not a girl, don't cry.
That's right.
If you're gonna cry, I'll give you something to cry about.
That's right.
Like shit like that.
Yeah, right? So, I know that line.
Yeah.
Are we related? Yeah.
So with that, like I kind of learned like a lot of men do that. Crying is for pussies or crying is for girls, which is stupid as hell.
Can't be a.
You can't be a.
Yeah.
Or don't be a.
Right.
Or
don't be.
It disallowed me to feel other emotions because like growing up like that, you learn that there's two emotions that are acceptable as a male, and that is anger. You can be mad. You can be as mad as you want.
All you want.
And then neutrality. You are allowed a modicum of every other emotion, but you better not make it to the point where like 1 through 10, you can do a 0.5. You can be 0.5 happy. You can be 0.1 sad. You can never cry unless like it's in anger or whatever it is.
I guess at the funeral. Oh, the anger. I like that.
As long as you're mad about it.
Yeah.
As long as you're pissed that you're being weak, then I guess that's acceptable. But like then I came to this point where like everything just made me angry. I was angry about everything for all the time. You know what I mean? Because I couldn't enjoy stuff. And then now I'm in a place where, you know, going through therapy and then meeting certain people, like really discovering what love is and from who and the different types of love and how people care for each other. And then identifying the toxic people in your life and then getting rid of them and being like, you're pointless. You are a useless factor in my life. You know, like a zit or a tangled hair, like it really serves no purpose and it's just there to annoy you. So you get rid of it and then it's fine. Everything's good. So now I'm in a place of I will do and say things the way that I feel is like pono, like right. And then sometimes I will make mistakes and I will say things that unintentionally hurt people and then I accept that. Take responsibility. I feel guilt and shame. I ask for forgiveness. I give my apology. I dedicate myself to not making that mistake again. And then I move on, you know, like a healthy, regular ass person, you know, male, female, or anything else.
Otherwise,
it's just, don't be a dick. It's really what it comes down to. I should get that tattooed on me. That's a really good like Buddhist proverb, right across the neck.
I think that might be your slogan.
Yeah. Catchphrase.
Yeah, that's your catchphrase. That's the Kupu catchphrase.
Remember,
don't be a dick.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about some practical advice for people out there. Maybe let's go with as someone who has a lot of clients that are working through dealing with trauma. What would you say the best 1 or 2 pieces of advice for someone struggling out, other than go see a therapist? Of course, because I'm with like go find a therapist is probably number one or is number one. But what do you think is a 1 or 2 piece of advice for someone going through trauma out there? Something that they can do.
First of all, like with any type of trauma, it's not your fault. It's definitely not your fault. You may have some responsibility in whatever situation has occurred, but responsibility is not fault. You know what I mean? It's not like blaming yourself and taking everything on yourself and like, if I had just known better, if I had just avoided this, like understanding that things are not always in your control. Just being able to identify it, whether or not you can accept it, is a different story. Sure. And that is definitely for therapy.
Yeah.
But if you're able to look at your situation and just see it as, I have responsibility, but it's not my fault. Like, that's a really important separation.
Yeah.
And then patience, like giving yourself a break and, treating yourself like you would treat the person that you love the most in this world. Yeah. Because it should be yourself, in my opinion. But sometimes people are raised or they grow up in a way that they kind of live more for other people than they do for themselves. And I live like that myself for a long time. So I have very intimate experience with that. And if you can turn that supportive gaze onto yourself and help yourself the way you would help your best friend or your mom or your child or whoever, and you can treat yourself as well, not give yourself so much shit all the time and being paid, because any progress is good progress. It doesn't matter if it's an inch or a mile or anything. If you're moving, you're golden. Even if you're staying in the same place, you're not backtracking. Even if you're backtracking, you're not back there. You know what I mean? There's always a way to change your perspective. In the Western ideology, it's cognitive behavioral therapy, where we adjust perceptions. We look at it from a different angle, because you can see darkness as a bad thing. But me personally, I love the dark. You know what I mean? It's not scary. It's cool. It's not hot. The sun isn't shining.
It's
not
literally cool.
Yeah. It's not cool like, hey, it's cool. It's cool like, yeah, thank God the sun's gone, because I hate the sun. I don't hate the sun. But it's things like that, like changing, adjusting your perception enough to allow breathing room. You know what I mean? Because you may be going through a traumatic experience currently, or you may be going through a traumatic experience in the past that constantly is in your mind. You can't get it off your mind. But giving yourself shit, like bagging on yourself or insulting yourself, just makes it worse, and allowing yourself to see that you're not in control of the thoughts in your head ultimately, right? If something comes up and you try to push away and it comes back, you try to push away and it comes back, and then you're saying like, I'm so stupid. Like, I'm so weak. I can't even stand up to them, or I can't like call the cops, or I can't do all these things. It's okay, because you can always see it as, I can't do it yet, right? I always get my clients to add the yet. Like, you may not be able to do it now, but it doesn't mean you won't be able to do it forever.
Like ever.
Yeah. And give yourself that time and patience and love and understanding, and encourage yourself rather than discourage yourself. You know what I mean? Because really that is the only thing that you can do like we were asking, that is of any benefit. If you can't make the call, at least don't give yourself shit about it. Like, I can't do that right now. I'm not ready.
Yeah.
But maybe sometime, if this happens, and you keep pushing the line or whatever it is, you're still thinking about it, right? That's a good thing. Any progress is good progress.
Yeah. Because we could all use a little hope too, right?
Yeah. Hope is a dangerous word in my opinion. Like, hope
yeah,
is,
tell us about it.
Yo.
Tell us about it.
How much time we got? Hope. So I love Obama's book title. Didn't read it. I probably should. But the title is first book, I think, The Audacity of Hope.
Yeah.
Indeed. The audacity. I'm not saying that hope is completely bad. I just feel like we use it too much as a crutch. Like, having hope is great, but having too much hope is just as unhealthy as having no hope at all.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you're banking, you're just like waiting for things to fix itself. Like, I have hope, I have faith. Or does hope turn into faith? That's a philosophical question for the ages. Like, at what point does hope become the only thing that you have, and it allows you to turn away from the do that you're asking about?
Yeah. And without getting too far off track. So I, like you, I not that I prefer the dark, but I definitely don't like to be hot in the sun. However, I love the lightness that can come from like people's stories. So I love hope. However, the way I define it in my head is more like what you said, where it can give us a little bit of encouragement, but then my next question is always, all right, cool. What am I doing next? Like there's still an input that I need, right? Because like you said, it's either sad, dangerous, lazy, somewhere in there to just rely on everything will be okay. I know it'll work out. You know,
I think it's called toxic optimism.
Yeah. And for me, I always resonate with a lot of optimism and light and hope because I got too much of my own self-generated like negativity in the other parts. So I, aspire to get a little more in that direction. But then I'm still me. So there still needs to be something that I need to do, like take responsibility, right? Control the things I can control, right? I can't just blind hope.
And let go of the things that
are out of my control, right?
Yeah. Well, also let go of the things that you probably shouldn't be trying to control, even though you could control it. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something.
Yeah. No, that's right. Yeah.
So, but it comes with identification, and being able to accurately identify what is and isn't okay, and just because it's okay for you, are you okay with it impacting someone else and making it not okay for them? Because if you're okay with that, then fine. But there are consequences. You put your hand in the water, it's going to get wet.
Right.
So if you interrupt someone else's life, be prepared for a consequence. You know what I mean? So like, where does your control end? Where are your limits? What is definitely yours? And then what is shared? And then what is someone else's? And are you dipping into someone else's stuff? Are you grabbing the thing when somebody else is grabbing it? Like, how do you see that for yourself? Is where I would go if we were in a therapy session. But as that pertains to hope, like hopefulness is definitely a good thing. But if that's the only thing, then that is hopefulness in jest, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, that's a joke. Because if you just have hope that someone is going to come and save you, that is faith. And that is for you and your God and your religion to amend. You know what I mean? There's that story, and this is a story that I learned at 12 years old when our father sent us to this Christian camp where we're not even raised Christian or Catholic or anything. He just wanted us out of his hair. So we went to this Christian camp and actually learned kind of a lot there, more about like cynicism. But there was a story about, and I'll make this quick. We got told a story of there's a flood in a city, and a bunch of people went up to the top rooftop of a building, and then a helicopter was coming and saving people on the other buildings, stuff like that. And they were all praying, and there was a faithful 3 people that were like super faithful, and they're like praying to God, and God's gonna come save us. The helicopter comes, pick up a bunch of people, and they leave. Pick up a bunch of people. The water's filling up, and it's coming to the edge of the building. They're about to all drown, and it comes to the last 3 people, and they're like, "Oh no, God's gonna save us." And then the helicopter left, and then the people drowned. And I was like, why didn't they get on the helicopter at 12 years old? Yeah. I'm like, that's so stupid. One of those things where I'm like, what? And the point of the story, as is explained to us, is that God sent the helicopter and those people denied God, so then they were killed. I didn't agree with that. I was like, oh, okay, that doesn't make sense. But what I did learn from it is that if you're just relying on hope and it turns into the faith that you are allowing yourself to not take any action for yourself or to see the door when it opens because your eyes are closed so tightly in prayer or hopefulness, you're going to miss your opportunity. And if you're stuck in a room and you don't notice that the door opens every 17 minutes and you miss it because you're praying so hard or whatever it is, you're missing your opportunity to help yourself. You know what I mean? And sometimes you do get lucky or your prayers are answered and people come and help you. And I hope that happens every single time, honestly. Yeah. I really do hope. Ironic. I really do hope that happens for you. But the probability, the likelihood of that happening every single time for your entire life is very, very low. So having hope, but keeping one eye open for the opportunity and having enough faith in yourself to take action when that opportunity arises would be my definition of productive hopefulness.
Productive hopefulness. I like that term. Before I ask you our final signature question that we're working on here, I want to share a little bit about, well, just you from me. So for one, I remember meeting you as Junior.
Oh yeah.
That's how I remember meeting you. So long ago. Pre-Kekupu, right? You know, the pre-Kekupu era. But I remember meeting you as Junior. I guess you were a student or intern or doing that thing whenever 2017, 18 or something, where I came to speak at Malama, where you guys were all at. So I remember meeting you there. And it was easy to remember you because you were the tallest guy and one of the the guys in the room too, right? In behavioral health field, right? Type of stuff.
I think I was the only guy.
Yeah, pretty sure. And then also you were taller than me, right? Which in Hawaii, I'm Hawaii tall, and you're way taller than I am. So
I like that.
Yeah, definitely California middle, but I'm Hawaii tall. So I remember that. And then now, as we got into work together these last 3-4 years or something like that.
4 years,
yeah, it's been really cool seeing your professional growth, right? From your running groups out there in Malama. I didn't know you did cultural stuff back in that, 17, 18 time. I didn't know that.
That's when I just started getting back into it.
Yeah, that's really cool. So as I've learned more about you doing that, cultural educator stuff out there, working with us now full time, and just seeing the range of patients that you help, the range of people that you help here. It's been really cool to see your growth that way. And like I told you the other day, and for real, I mean this, as you were describing how you are at therapy, and then well, I don't think I remember I have a client wanting to leave or anything, because you haven't. At least since I've worked with you, you know what I mean? Because what I've noticed is you find, however you are, so even as you describe yourself as your style is confrontational, you know what I can tell is that it's for real. That's what I can tell as you're describing it. So I feel very confident saying your clients, the people that you help, they can just see that you're serving them from the heart. Even if you're going to tell them something they don't want to hear. And maybe, like you said, if you hurt their feelings, please let me know so I can adjust. Yeah. And I think I could tell when you're telling me, they can tell that you really mean that. It's not just fluff or blown smoke. And I think it's that authenticity is why there's guys in their 80s who love working with you, and kids who are in elementary school who love working with you. I
appreciate that.
And I think that's
genuineness is very important to me. Yeah. So thank you. I appreciate that.
If there's one thing we can say about you, it's that's Kupu.
He says things.
He's the t-shirt, the shirt, everything he says. Yeah, that's Kupu. Yeah. And he'll just say it like it is. But I always feel like it comes from a good place in the heart, which is why, people respond so well to you. So I wanted to tell you as an outside observer, someone who's, worked with you 5-ish years or whatever, it's something I admire about you. And personally for Travis, I don't know if you remember this, a few years ago, you came and told me something that I didn't, it's like I knew, but no one ever talks to me about things, brings a difficult conversation to me. So you told me, this was also, you were helping someone else kind of share their feelings about me as a boss and a manager. And you said something to me that kind of caught me off guard in a good way though, because ever since then, I never forgot it in a positive way though. So it helps me kind of stay in check to make sure that I'm treating the staff as well as I possibly can, because I know I'm coming from a good place, but I also know I'm not always the best messenger. You know what I mean?
Do you mind sharing what I don't remember what I said?
So you mentioned, and I don't know if it was your description or if you were sharing someone else's description, but that I was militant in the way that I kind of give feedback as a manager. And it really caught me aback because however I am, and I'm sure your experience is probably similar in adult life, right? Because when you look big and scary, people usually don't want to talk to you about stuff. Right? Yeah. So I admire that you've always been willing, since I've known you, to bring up an uncomfortable conversation, I guess we'll call it. Because I wouldn't call it confrontation, but my feelings want to call it confrontation, because usually people don't come and talk to me about stuff that I don't want to hear. Right.
Well, I do apologize if I.
No, it wasn't. It was not. It was super good and eye opening because I wasn't sure. And you know how when you feel like you're smart, sometimes you want to figure everything out on your own, but that's just not possible, right? You kind of you need good feedback from people around you. So it's a piece of feedback that I think about actually at least every year for sure.
Really?
Maybe every couple months. Yeah. But because it had a positive impact on me. So thank you is what I wanted to tell you.
You're welcome.
Short of it. Long story short. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, man. Like, sometimes I that is something that I kind of like want to be more aware of. If I'm like saying things that are out of pocket or like aren't necessary to be said.
Yeah.
But I do remember, I think
we were downtown.
Downtown.
We were
downtown. Yeah, I do remember that conversation.
We were downtown.
I don't remember what I said, but I do remember sitting down because we were both wearing red shirts.
Yeah.
I remember it was red shirt day.
It was red shirt day. Yeah.
Dude, it's funny. Yeah, that was a good conversation, I feel like.
No, it was good. Because, one day I'm going to go talk on our show like over and over about like my life and work and all that stuff. But it was very helpful and meaningful to me. So I just want to say thanks.
Good, man.
And I appreciate that because we still plan to work together for time, for a certain time. So I appreciate that. And then lastly, I always appreciate that you are willing to talk about how Batman is the greatest superhero of all time. Thank you very much.
All right. So this
we just created a whole nother episode.
I can go. Batman, how dare you?
Yeah.
How dare you?
I love
besmirch.
Yeah.
just for everybody watching,
heroism.
Batman is garbage. I do not apologize for that. No, I do like our conversations about the worst pseudo hero in existence, Bruce Wayne. Bruce Very Vain.
Reed Richards? I thought you were just...
I mean, Reed Richards is pretty bad too. No, we were talking about that.
We were just talking about Reed Richards, I thought.
He is a villain, for sure. Yeah, totally.
So us talking about comic people is a total other podcast for sure now, I feel.
Let's do it. Let's go.
That's for fun.
I got all kinds of things.
Oh, man. Our signature question. So the name of our show is called Listen to Your Heart. So, Kupu, I wanted to ask you, when you listen to your heart, what does it say?
Don't be a dick.
I fucking knew it. Yeah, that's the best. That's the best.
I mean, basically, I try my best. I really do try my best to not involve people in my shenanigans. And what that means is, if I'm feeling a certain way, how is my behavior impacting the people around me? Yeah, am I blocking am I so caught up in my own feelings that I'm blocking the aisle at the supermarket? You know what I mean? Getting in other people's way. Am I not paying attention and bumping into people because I'm so like caught up? Yeah, so like I try my best to listen to that little Kupu on the inside, and it's like, don't hurt people. Yeah. Don't be mean. Don't be angry. Because that was kind of like my biggest fear as an adult. Like as a kid, I was a very terrible kid because I had so much anger. You know what I mean? Always like starting fights with people and like saying unnecessary shit and whatever. And I never listened to that little voice inside me that is just like, probably shouldn't do that. It's probably not a good idea. Because then I feel bad after. Yeah. I feel guilty. I feel ashamed. Like I'm not like, I'm making my family look bad. You know, I'm making all my answers is like just shaking their head like, really? Really? Did you have to say that? Did you have to do that type of stuff? So like, honestly, what it comes down to is that don't be a thing. It's just like, be good. What one of my other who would say, his constant revolving door of love each other, love one another, be kind to each other, and like move on with your life. Yeah.
Thank you, man. I love that. And thank you for tuning in to Listen to Your Heart. If you'd like to help our mission, check out the link in our bio to visit our store or make a donation to our nonprofit, IMUA Heart. Like, comment, and share with friends and family. Subscribe for future episodes, and together we can IMUA towards a happier, healthier Hawaii. Until next time, mahalo.